Hey, how you doing, everybody? Thank you so much for tuning in today. I see that you have stumbled onto our podcast. Welcome in. We are Wish We Were Then. That's the name of the show. That also describes what we do. So you don't need any explanation.
No,
What do you say about that, Mark? Do you agree?
we sit here and we look at each other and we wish we were then real hard. And
That's
what we
actually the
do.
craziest thing is that we're completely silent. Even right now, we just wish so hard that you at home can hear us. That's the
Mind is
magic.
an incredible thing.
It truly is, especially when it only works if you're using time as the medium to wish through. You can't wish you were there because it's not going to work. You have to wish you were then. That's the only type of wish that God grants. It's the only wish that God sees fit to listen to. Little kids crying out in hunger and starvation, people dying of diseases, all of that. He turns a blind ear towards, but he goes, "Oh, someone wishes they were then? What's that, my child? Let me make it so." All right, well, I don't need to explain anything. No, I'm just kidding. So I said you were Mark. I don't think I said I'm Trey. How would you describe what we do in actuality without any of enough of your bullshit, Mark? Give it to me straight.
We pick a year back in time and we go through and we find all of the sports, entertainment, music, movies, news, inventions. And we go through and we find out what was cool, uncool, and we talk about them. And we educate you guys on what was going on back then. We do our research, so you don't have to.
That's right. You know what? That brings me to a good point. The tagline of the show. That usually is something I say up top, and it does encapsulate a lot better than me floundering about for a minute and a half. This is the show that's been doomed to repeat history, so you don't have to. Damn, that's a good tagline, huh? Should start saying that at the top. Oh, that really saves me some time and effort. Well, I think that we have a doozy here of a year to get into. Shall we jump into it?
Let's do it.
All right, well, we are about to tell you all about our recent excursion back in time, and the year we just visited sure was a fun one, folks. Let me tell you. How many times have you heard that before? I mean, seriously, huh? I'm getting sick of hearing it, actually, Mark. You know, I feel like I've been hearing that my entire life. Oh, we just went back in time, and it was a really fun year. Yeah, I've been hearing that from my parents and my teachers, my doctors and religious figures. I feel like I hear that shit every week. I kind of feel like we even say that sometimes on this show, to be honest with you. Yeah, it was a fun year. Not every year can be fun, right? I mean, but I guess what we mean by that typically is that it's fun to look at and compare it to our current year and the way things are now. Sometimes you look back and the music, for instance, you'll look at trends that are just starting out or are completely fading away. Sometimes a genre is the most popular thing in the world and it's completely disappeared now. Also, you look at the news stories, and a lot of the times we're looking at extremely important news stories that have ramifications that carry forward for generations and really alter people's lives. And the year we're about to look at is not fun for any of those reasons. Not at all. It really just seems like Americans were their primary concern was having a good time this year. That's really all it seems like anyone was worried about. If you look at the music, oftentimes on the Spotify playlist, I'll put a lot of fun, goofy, random bullshit towards the bottom that I'm like, look at this weird stuff that came out this year. This time around, a lot of that stuff is in the top 100.
The entire top 100 is like that.
Yeah, even in the top 5, there's just a lot of like, whoa, what a weird song this is. What a funny thing. Even the news stories, the top news story, the most important news story that happened in the country this year, seems like the president was just goofing around pretending he was Admiral Akbar, just playing around like he was in a big movie. He's going, look at me, I'm a spaceman too. I want to get in on the good time. So really, it was just everyone in the country was having a good time. So I can say this, without seeming trite, but to mean this in earnest, we are about to look at a year that I think is one of the most fun years we have covered so far. Today, we are going to tell you all about our trip to 1983.
I agree. And then I guess I really didn't think about it that way until you just put it that way. But everything that was going on was so like fun and exciting, and the technology that was coming out. But before we get into it, I'm going to get into the one of the bummer things that I did find this year.
Okay.
But definitely interesting because it doesn't happen very often. On March 1st, 1983, a tornado hit L.A. It was so big that it tore off a piece of the L.A. Convention Center's roof. It traveled for over 4 miles parallel to the 101 freeway, and it left a half-mile wide tear through downtown L.A., killing 9 people, injuring 30, and destroying 150 buildings.
Damn. That's so crazy. A tornado in Los Angeles. Obviously not typical weather for Los Angeles to receive. I guess this was in South Central, and I mean, this is so atypical, obviously, for civilians, but also the Weather Service was like completely unawares. They didn't issue any kind of warning for this. There was no tornado watch prior, and there was no tornado warning like right beforehand like you would normally get. It was something they were able to warn people like within like I think like an hour. They kind of got people mobilized pretty quickly due to the warning system that was in place, but all of the typical weather conditions for tornadoes just weren't present, like the way that all of the weather indicators that they're used to seeing in the Midwest and areas where there are tons of tornadoes all the time. None of that, going back and like the weather services that have researched the event and everything, they say none of that was really there before this event. It kind of just came up out of the blue, and I wasn't able to really find a reason that they say it. I mean, maybe they figured it out now, but it wasn't like something that they could have seen coming, apparently.
Yeah, a freak accident for sure. There was a tornado down by our house. Do you remember that? I think it was like just after high school. It flipped a train in Paris. So
Damn.
it's not like totally unheard of to happen in Southern California.
Yeah, no, I mean, we get those little dirt devils all the time.
Yeah, but that just has to be like an actual storm system to cause it instead of just
so what I mean, like the type of weather to swirling wind happens pretty constantly. So it's not like a weird
the
thing
reason
to think
it
of it just
doesn't
being
happen
bigger
here
than
is
that.
because of all of the mountain ranges that we have. It would happen more often if we didn't have those.
Yeah, tornadoes are a crazy thing because I'm just thinking. I mean, they happen in Texas a fair amount, but I don't really know why they're more common in the Midwest. I guess it's just the flatness of it. If the reason why it doesn't happen in California is the mountains, huh?
Yeah, it's like the weather patterns don't have a chance to like reach each other like that because the mountain systems block them.
Oh, that makes sense. Guy, can you imagine just being in LA and having to suddenly be someone like how long before you take it seriously that someone comes in and goes, "There's a tornado. You need to get out of here."
That's what I was thinking. I'm like, an hour is not enough time to even convince me that one was happening.
Yeah, for sure. Especially in 1983, where you can't Google it or like look at the. I mean, I guess there was.
That's why you would take it seriously, though. I think.
Yeah, I suppose.
You'd be like, "Oh shit, what?" Like.
Yeah, you're like, well, it is awful cloudy, and the wind seems to be picking up.
Yeah.
So I guess I should get out of here.
You wouldn't be like, let me research this.
Yeah, exactly.
Get my encyclopedia out. Figure out what's going on.
Hold on. Let me just tell you, none of the weather patterns that are indicative of a tornado which over the Midwest region are present today. Well, let me go ahead and move on to the next news item. Also in March. This is the big one I was talking about early on. I think this is just so funny that this is kind of like the predominant news story when you look at this year online a lot of the time. Is that March 23rd, Ronald Reagan announced the Strategic Defense Initiative Organization. He said in a speech, this is a part of the quote, "I call upon the scientific community in this country, those who gave us nuclear weapons, to turn their great talents to the cause of mankind and world peace, to give us the means of rendering these nuclear weapons impotent and obsolete." So it was a push to try to move away from nuclear weapons and the threat of everybody just constantly being worried the world was about to end. He was saying instead of that, let's figure out a way to make sure you can't harm each other with nuclear weapons. That's a commendable goal, I'll say. His method was pretty fucking crazy, I think, though. The Star Wars.
So what the reason it got that name because after this, like the next day on March 24th, the Washington Post came out with a piece and it had a quote from Senator Ted Kennedy. It says Reagan's defense proposal was reckless Star Wars schemes. That was like his quote. So
Yeah.
that's where it coined the name Star Wars.
Yeah, he was making fun of it, and it. So yeah, the actual
Yeah.
name of it is the name of it is Strategic Defense Initiative, but it's better known as the Star Wars Defense.
Yeah.
Which essentially Reagan's plan was to have a bunch of like, kind of like the game. What is it? Missile Command, the one where you're like, there's stuff coming down on the top of the screen, and you have those little like bunkers or little missile launchers that you shoot up and stop the stuff. Some
Yeah,
old arcade
it's
game.
called an Iron Dome, and a lot of people use it.
Well, he wanted to have little turrets essentially positioned to shoot down lasers from space, or to shoot lasers into space to shoot down ballistic missiles before they came
I
down.
mean, that's kind of how it does it now, but it's not lasers. It's other missiles that do it. But it's the
Right,
same
this is
concept.
This was something that actually started taking place next year in 1984, where they actually started trying to work on this, and then they poured a bunch of money into it over the next few years before kind of abandoning the situation. It was something that they did deem, the way he was looking at it and what he wanted to do was very just science fiction. He was just going, oh, let's fucking have lasers that we shoot to stop missiles. Well, that'll just be how we end all that. And they'll explode in space and they won't hurt anybody, I guess. And it was very much a fantasy version of an idea that I guess is sure, but it's just was not a practical thing that they could accomplish.
Yeah. It lasted 10 years and then they dissolved it.
Yeah. So, and I mean, it really seemed like he could have been influenced by a lot of what was going on in Hollywood that we'll get to later. And that was very,
Why would you think that? Speaking of fun stuff, getting into the drugs, ladies and gentlemen. Dare
Okay.
comes out on September 5th. It was put on by the LA Unified School District and then the Los Angeles Police Department Chief Daryl Gates. It stands for Drug Abuse Resistance Education Program, meant to educate kids on why drugs are bad. Okay. But even the early studies went to show that it didn't work. Like, they weren't effective. Like, nobody wanted to learn PowerPoints on, heroin or whatever. Like,
Yeah, well, I mean, so I remember the DARE program being something that was still going on when we were kids. And then when I was reading about it and that it was like, oh, it was a focus on getting police to come and talk to kids. That was like the main thrust of the DARE program, was to have police officers come in and talk about why drugs were bad and all of that. Like, there were police officers would come in with cars that had been seized from drug dealers. Like, they'd come in with like Lamborghinis that drug dealers had bought and that the police had seized. I guess the purpose was to say, look, if you sell drugs, you'll lose all your cool possessions. And I was like, all you're doing is showing kids, hey, look,
That
if
you
you
can
sell
get
drugs, you
cool
can get a
possessions.
Lambo. Yeah. So yeah, I guess really that's the thing of it, is that it put all of that information right in front of kids and was like, hey, look at all, don't do all these drugs. And people are like, what drugs? What are you talking about? I don't know anything about this yet. All I know now is there's something that sounds like it's so cool everyone wants to do it, and I'm not supposed to. And
I don't know. Maybe the idea was like, if you were the first person to tell something about somebody about something, then they're more likely to believe that, right? Instead of being like, you want to try some pot? It's real cool, like from your friend.
Yeah. I mean, I get the reasoning behind it. I don't think it was like a terrible idea. But I mean, you even
No,
think
but like I think everybody knows. Yes, that being the basic concept, but putting it into practice, everybody has to know that no kid is going to listen to an adult about drugs.
Yeah.
Sorry, it just hasn't been that way, and it won't be that way. They're still going to get they're going to try it, and then until they realize that it's not good for you. Like, that's just how most people operate in things. It's like you tell something you don't want them to do it, they're probably going to want to go and do it.
Yeah, totally. I think the big, sign of the ineffectualness of it, the ineffectiveness of it, is that the T-shirts and stuff, like the hats, all those things are just like funny to wear if you're someone who smokes weed. Like if I see someone,
Now
an
they're
adult,
ironic.
yeah, if I see an adult wearing a Dare shirt, I just think, oh, that guy smokes weed. I don't think, oh, he really cares about kids and he's trying to keep everybody to stop from smoking. You know, I wouldn't mind owning a shirt like that right now. I'm thinking about it. I think, yeah, it'd be pretty funny. So yeah, I guess it has the complete opposite effect than what they desired, unfortunately. Okay, I got another thing. This is fun for if you get all toked up, you're all reefered out. Where's a good place to go is Disneyland. And for the first time outside of America, you could visit a Disney park. Tokyo Disney opened on April 15th. Yeah, this was the first Disney park outside of the United States. The contract for construction had been signed back in like 1979, so this had been being worked on for a while. And it's like heavily modeled after the Disney in California. So it's a pretty similar experience, but a lot of they had like a Western land as well as a frontier land. I didn't really like look into what the differences were, but I was kind of, as an American, I was like, well, how would you?
But maybe they just made it more of a, because it is an American thing, so I'm sure they just try to lean into that a little more.
Yeah, I guess if there's a Japanese section of an American park, it's just like, look, it's just like everything Japanese is there. And if someone from Japan comes, it could be like either, kitchen sinky, or it could be like just normal. Like, yeah, this looks like a normal street because it just is modeled after a Japanese street. That's enough. If you just make it look like a normal Japanese like street, that's Japanese now. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So it's not that interesting to them, but it is to us. So I guess, it just look like a Western town, I suppose. I just think frontier and Western seems like an odd distinction is really what I think. Like when you're walking in Tokyo Disney, you look up and you go, oh, clearly we just transitioned from frontier world into Western world. What is the line? You know what I mean? Things go from being like, you know what I mean? What they go from being what to what? Like obviously when you walk from the Tomorrowland into Fantasyland, you go, everything went from being space to being fairies. There's like a clear line of demarcation. I don't know what that is between frontier and Western. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. All right, I got one more little news story. September 17th, Vanessa Williams becomes the first African American to win Miss USA. And then she became the Miss USA for 1984. This is just when she won it. But then she would be forced to resign because she went on in Penthouse magazine and was fully nude, to say the least.
Yes, yeah, we talked about that briefly when Save the Best for Last was in the top 5, because that was kind of her comeback song.
Mm-hmm. Well, her first song, really, because I don't think she was even an artist before that.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I don't remember exactly. I just remember, that song was her big comeback in her career from that big scandal. And so this time around, I thought, let me look into that a little bit and figure out some of the backstory. So, I was reading about that. It turns out, like, the pictures were pictures she had taken in 1982. So prior to her even... So it wasn't something that she took... Because I thought, like, damn, that was a bad decision to make after being a Miss America to go on to do that. It seems like you'd be really careful, Yeah. It was something that she didn't know where those were going to end up. I don't think she thought anything was going to happen to them. I mean, it's something that I think people used to do more. You kind of used to see that, I think. I know that was like a sitcom reference back in the day. Was like, come on in, we'll just pose nude. No one will know, Sell to you for $200. Like, was something people did. I don't know how, especially a model, someone who was trying to be, in the pageant circuit, like that kind of thing. I could see that happening. So she got taken advantage of, really. And it got really terrible ramifications for her. And it sucks that the Miss America organization made her give up the title. Yeah, it wasn't really on her.
Yeah, they made
on
her
her
resign.
side. Yeah, so resign was, I guess, nice that they didn't strip her of the title or whatever. But it's something that years later, the then president of the Miss America organization would come out and apologize to her, retroactively.
Well, that's cool.
But, and she did well for herself after that. Like, she was really popular after her comeback song and stuff like that. And by that point in the 90s, like, people, their attitudes about that kind of stuff had changed a lot. So I think everyone was like, oh, yeah, why were we mad?
Yeah, like no one's even seen that before. It's fine.
It's just
it was
like,
actually Penthouse's like #1 selling magazine ever.
yeah, well, I mean, it's a huge get for them. Like, it's
Yeah.
a big deal. And like back then, yeah, it was so scandalous to have that happen. So, and they knew what they were doing. They were being little shitheads about it. You know what I mean? Like they
Yeah.
were, oh, cool, we got some salacious photos. Let's ruin this girl's life. And it's something too where it's like it's such a bullshit the morals that are drawn there. Like it's like, oh yeah, let's and now for the swimsuit section of the fucking Miss America thing. Well, you better look good in a swimsuit if you want to win this title. Hey, you better not take that shit off. We can't see you without it. You come out here, we're gonna gawk at you in front of thousands of people, put it on TV, but no more. Otherwise, oh my god, how dare you?
Yeah, that's a little. Yeah, you're definitely right about that.
Ridiculous.
All right, I'm done with the news and such.
The news onto the foods of the year. 1983 was a year that helped the food landscape. It started to look a lot more similar to nowadays because you had a couple of debuts this year. Domino's Pizza was founded, as well as Panda Express, Jimmy John's, and Golden Spoon, all of which I thought were noteworthy restaurants that were founded.
Man, I haven't had Golden Spoon in forever.
Yeah, that kind of was a nostalgic one for me when I saw that. I was like, oh, yeah, Golden Spoon. I'll every once in a while see a Golden Spoon. I'll think, God, I got to go there. I never do. I'm part of the problem. I got to go. Panda Express, this was the year that they became Panda Express. They had, because that was one that I thought, Panda Express, were they formed as a whole company or what was the deal there? But the restaurant had been Panda Inn for a number of years prior. They were some Chinese immigrants, a family had moved over and started a restaurant called the Panda Inn. And in 1983, the son got the idea to make it a fast food version of the same food because, Chinese food wasn't that popular at the time. We've talked before about how recent it is that, like, in the 80s, pizza was still kind of seen as an ethnic food. And so for Domino's to just kind of get going off the ground, this was like the start of pizza chains being a big thing. And Panda Express, I think, was the same thing. I think Chinese food was strictly seen as a foreign, kind of delicacy sort of a deal, or you get it from Chinese restaurants, but it wasn't this quick service to go thing like you see nowadays.
Yeah,
So
now
that started
every
to change.
Chinese food place is like Panda Express, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, but I've
And
never
it's-
gone to a Chinese food place and then thought like, man, I thought this could be quicker. Like even like the ones where they make it in the back and they'll bring it out to you. It's still always fast. Maybe
Yeah,
that's just
I mean-
like the order of operations nowadays. I don't know, but
Yeah, that's what I think. I think people have come to expect that. I guess it's kind of flipped. But I think of like P.F. Chang's.
oh yeah, well there are ones, I guess.
Like, yeah, if you go there, I mean, it must. I guess I don't really go there too often. It's kind of one of those foods that I feel like a lot. Really, anything that I feel you can find the same version of it in a very quick manner. So like Mexican food is kind of one of those things where I'm like, if I can go to like a pretty cheap Mexican food place and get a good burrito, I'm not going to go to like a fancy Mexican food place where it's basically the same food but like twice as much money. Like it might taste a little better, but I'll just make that at home if I'm not getting it quickly for cheap,
Yeah.
That's kind of how I feel about Chinese food mostly.
Yeah, but I can't cook Chinese food at home. I've tried.
I mean, I have.
have.
I've done it once or twice. It is a whole process, but I guess I would just rather learn to do that than do $75 for an entree at some fancy.
Yeah, it's true.
But that's just me. It is a whole thing. I was surprised at how much honey goes into it. That's a lot of where the sauce comes from.
Honey and ginger.
Yeah, honey was like a big. I was like, oh, when it made sense. That's why everything looks all sticky and. I just never really
delicious.
thought of it. Yeah, I didn't know where the sweet sticky sauce came from. And when I realized it was honey, I was like, duh. Okay, it's like if everything was all wet, and I was like, oh, you pour water on it, like, duh.
Water gets sticky, right?
Okay, the one other big debut for this year is McDonald's introducing the chicken nugget. 1983. I would have thought they were around from the 60s or something like that. The nugget.
They didn't find out they can grind down a whole chicken yet, Trey.
I guess not. Yeah, They were created in 1979, and they were introduced into some test markets in 1981. And pretty quickly they found out, yes, this is something that we should be doing. This is a product that we definitely want in all of our stores and all of our markets. But according to Rene Arend, who was McDonald's first ever executive chef, who actually created the McNuggets, he said there wasn't a system to supply enough chicken because, they knew how great the actual demand was going to be. They were like, we're not going to be able to implement this. So somehow there's a lot of information about how there wasn't enough chicken to go around, and like they knew that going into this, and then suddenly the supply issue was fixed in 1983. I don't know where they started getting enough chickens, but they got that figured out somehow. They went from knowing there weren't enough chickens to go around to somehow let's do this and start selling more every year from now on for forever. So goes into maybe there was some questionable things going on.
I have some theories. Let me just say, man, that's crazy. I think that's crazy that they sell more and more every year. Still, even today.
I don't know about now, but
that's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, they knew how popular they were going to be as soon as they started doing them.
Yeah.
So I love McNuggets, though. That's actually funny. When I was a kid, I wasn't that into them. I didn't think they were that great. I guess they've changed the formula, and now they're better because they're all white meat. I remember when that was a
big
changed move for them.
Yeah.
But now when I get them, I think they're pretty good usually.
The sauce, the sweet and sour sauce.
Yeah, I mean the sauce is always doing
part.
a lot of the work there.
A lot of the legwork. All right, I want to move on to toys.
Sure, yeah. I guess, when you're at McDonald's, you get some McNuggets, and what comes along with them 9 times out of 10, a little toy in there. And in 1983, there were a couple of Toy Stories.
Not that Toy Story, but
Tim Allen and Tom Hanks starred in Toy Story.
So Cabbage Patch Kids would be a huge craze around Christmas time, or right before Christmas, or actually right after Thanksgiving, or we like to know it as Black Friday. People were flooding stores, driving from county to county when they found out that a store would get these Cabbage Patch Kids in, and they would just flood it. And this was the kickoff, if not the kickoff, of Black Friday, if it wasn't already leading up to this.
Yeah, like the hysteria surrounding getting in line and getting toys and stuff like that. Yeah, I mean, this was before the idea of it being like, hey, doorbuster sale, get in here and we'll get you whatever, a TV for a penny or whatever dumb shit they give you nowadays. Then it was just like, we have Cabbage Patch Kids. Come get them. We'll let you have some,
Come get them while you can, because they're not going to last very long.
Yeah, and people, I mean, like you said, it was just thousands of people showing up in line. Stores like Kmart and Zayres, which is now defunct, but it was like Zayre. Zayres. They handed out purchase tickets, so, little vouchers basically to say like, hey, you are going to get a Cabbage Patch Kids. They handed them out to the first the first several hundred people in line, saying like, hey, you're here, you're going to get one. There you go. There were several hundred people, if not thousands of people, behind those folks who had been waiting in line for hours that did not get purchase tickets. So those, people would get pretty upset, start, freaking out and rioting and stuff like that. Tons of violence erupted this year over the Cabbage Patch Kids. This is where the stereotype of that hysteria starts, of people trampling each other and injuries and shoving and biting and scratching and clawing for a couple of stupid little ugly dolls. And that's the weirdest thing, is nobody really knows why they were that popular this year. There's not really like some specific genesis of this that they can pinpoint, or there wasn't even like a cartoon that aired this year that was super popular or something like that. It just was weirdly, this was the hot toy and people couldn't get them, and that just drove it up and made it crazier. And then I guess that makes kids then part of it. They go like, whoa, what? I want one,
Yeah. But they have one.
It got so crazy at one point, a couple of Milwaukee radio DJs joked that a B-29 bomber was going to be dropping a bunch of dolls at the county stadium. And so like 24 people showed up. It was like -2 degrees. And they all showed up with oven mitts, catcher's mitts to try to catch falling Cabbage Patch dolls. There were no dolls to fall. But.
Original Cabbage Patch Kids in their boxes go for like $150, $100. This one's selling for $375.
We should get a couple. I mean,
these things are ugly, man. That's why I looked them up. I remember them being ugly. They're not really like, they have like big puffy cheeks. That's like the cutest thing about them, but they're still kind of ugly.
Yeah. My sister had some when I was a kid. So, I mean, that would have been years after they were, 10 years after they were a crazy fad. So, I think even by the next year, the craze dropped away and they weren't a necessity to be like stockpiled by stores ananymore by like the next holiday season.
My sisters had
the
them,
beginning of that.
And they were born in the mid 80s, mid to early 80s.
Yeah, your sister. You have a couple sisters are older than mine by a little bit, so they would have been closer to the.
They got them into the mid 80s.
Yeah, 80s. I think really at that point though, even if you were just past 83, essentially, like even I think like I said 84, I think even it was like, oh yeah, you're fine if you want one of these.
Yeah,
probably one of those situations where you showed up the next year finally like, oh, I got one, and everyone's like, Brad has a Cabbage
this guy.
Oh, gross.
Playing with G.I. Joes now.
The other big, kind of like a toy sort of a thing. I mean, some people view it as that. Now it's like, it could be a whole damn career. Dad, it's not a toy. It's a video game. It's how I make my living, all right? I have 12,000 Twitch subscribers. Is that a lot? I don't know.
Sounds pretty good.
No idea about Twitch. Everyone who actually Twitches right now is like, 12,000. Fucking, if that's how you make your money, then you're not making a good living, friend. Anyway, let's talk about video games of 1983. The big one is, of course, on June 14th, the United States saw the release of the Mario Brothers. This is the introduction of Luigi into the story here. And it reportedly released in Japan on July 6th. I couldn't really get down. They were like, that's actually one of the, like a piece of information was that reportedly it released on July 6th. You can't just nail down when it came out there. It could have come
Japan's
out before, some people
that
say.
Information. They're like,
yeah, who knows?
They know. They keep records.
There also were a couple other big games that came out.
I can't believe Mario Brothers overtook, because Donkey Kong and stuff came out like just before this. We did 81, I think.
Yeah, it couldn't have been too long before this.
But it overtook it really quickly because it became popular pretty much immediately.
Yeah, it was a huge game. I mean, a big reason for that was that Donkey Kong was an arcade cabinet. You went to the actual brick and mortar arcades to go play that. But the same year, about a month later, on July 15th, Nintendo released the Famicom, short for Family Computer. Not that cool of a name. That's what it was called in Japan. But a couple years later, in 1986, it would come out in the United States as the Nintendo Entertainment System. So you start having that come over, and that's why the shift would happen in popularity and everything of the going from Donkey Kong stuff to Mario and Luigi and dropping the big hairy monkey out of the picture, unfortunately.
For now.
Yeah, he'd come back later, wouldn't he? Seth Rogen's got a thing to say about it. The other big game I wanted to talk, not big, but the other game I wanted to talk about that was released this year on June 19th, so just shortly after Mario Brothers, was Dragon's Lair. This is the third ever Laserdisc game and the first one to come out in the United States. And if Laserdiscs are one of those technologies that just didn't catch on, and it must have been cost prohibitive or something like that at the time, because it was superior to VHS tapes. They were like big DVDs. They really were a lot better in most ways. I think they were just expensive, and that's why they didn't, translate to a consumer market or whatever, and kind of took a while to progress to the next level. I think we would have started moving a lot quicker. Same thing happened with Betamax. I think people say Betamax was better than VHS in a lot of ways, but back then people were a lot more hesitant to adopt new technologies.
Well, speaking of the laser discs, so those were just laying the foundation for CD players. And the first CD player would come out in Japan on October 1st, 1982. It was a Sony CDP 101 is what it was called. But then on March 19th, 1983, they would come out in the United States. They would cost $1,000. So it was not super popular to have those, but the compact disc players would be huge for the coming years. The next
Yeah.
40 years, really.
Yeah, it's interesting that that one did. I mean, I guess like 8 tracks. I don't know how those compared to. Well, I mean, they were more portable, and then like tapes and stuff. So there were a couple of music mediums that came in that would gain some sort of popularity. But it's interesting that CDs people gravitated towards that quicker than towards anything for movies. That stuff takes a lot longer to
Yeah.
start.
Well, then they
start
would
being
go
a
into
thing.
games, and then I mean, you
Yeah.
could still buy CDs. You can,
I
if you
mean that's
wanted.
a huge thing. I guess that's a big thing to consider is when the gaming industry came in and started being more of a moneymaker. Then it's like, well, now you have games and home movies both go in the same direction. So it's like they both use CDs. Well, now there's a reason to improve that technology, and then that
Yeah.
keeps going forward. So that makes sense. Have you ever played Dragon's Lair? It is a really cool game.
No.
And it shows like how when you compare it to like Mario Brothers and the amount of information they were able to hold on this game disc back in 1983 is astounding. It's like an animated game.
Oh yes,
It
I
looks,
have played
it looks
this,
like
but I've
the
played
Sword
it
in the
in
Stone or something.
yeah, I've played it in arcade cabinets.
Yeah, it's a really cool game, and playing it, I don't know how it works in the arcade cabinet.
The same. You have to like
But-
move left, right,
Yeah,
up, down. It's like the same like when you as you
At-
go through.
I think, I mean, at home, there really is no information given to you about what you can do. So it's insanely difficult to figure out, like, okay, I can go forward, I guess. It's something I have to fucking do sometimes. Like, it's so hard to play that game. It takes so fucking long to get farther into it. And, like, I remember I knew somebody who had it, and I'd sit there, and, I mean, I'd play for, like, a couple of afternoons, and I'd get progressively farther, and you have to remember everything that came before it. And then I'd get to something and be like, what the fuck was I supposed to do? And sometimes I'd be like, okay, I don't know. I'm not going to play this for another 20 minutes to get to this point. What do you do next? And he'd be like, you have to hit this other button that I didn't know you could hit yet, And so he just had figured it out by doing it. And he was able to get I think he had maybe beaten it. Or it was really a thing that, like, we got to. Now I remember we were in this part where we're on, like, some horse that you're flying through, like, a corridor of a bunch of stuff. And all of us were trying to memorize the pattern of when you were supposed to go and the timing of it. And I mean, it's really fun to play, but it also looks so cool to be actually playing a cartoon like that.
Yeah,
I mean,
no,
in a
for
way that
sure.
you don't really do with any other games. It's like an actual. I can't remember. I think it might be Don Bluth that did the artwork for it. And so you're playing like a real cartoon, and it's actually responding to your commands. I mean, like a video game does, but it's really cool. Yeah, it is Don Bluth animation. He used to work for Disney, so it looks like the Sword in the Stone and stuff like that because he actually animated.
That's
those,
definitely what it reminds me of. Is a sort of
Yeah.
stone.
Very, very cool piece of technology. The other technology piece that I have, you mentioned the CD player. The only other thing that I got in the tech world is the Swatch watch. This was a huge deal in the 80s. Have you seen these? Are you familiar with the swatches?
Yes, I remember they were still popular when we were kids. I'm pretty sure
Yeah.
they got like versions of them in a cereal box one time.
Probably. That kind of sounds familiar. These are like Swiss watches that come in a variety of fun patterns and colors. They're all super loud, very 90s, very 80s, very, patterns and stuff like that. These were made as a response to a bunch of cheaper quartz watches were starting to be made throughout the 60s and 70s that were replacing like mechanical Swiss watchmakers. These people were being, driven out of business because all their watches were too expensive. So, which I didn't realize quartz was kind of a newer thing in the game of watches, relatively. So this newer, cheaper method of making watches was coming out and displacing a lot of Swiss watchmakers. So this was kind of, invented as a way to combat that, I guess. And Franz Sprecher was a marketing consultant who actually came up with the idea of making them fashionable and fun and all that kind of stuff. So, like, really, swatches, I guess it's a two-part thing. They're cheap to make, and then they look really cool. So it just was the marriage of these two good ideas that came together and struck lightning in a bottle and kind of became a huge cultural, you had to have this sort of thing for the 80s.
Yeah. You can buy it. If you look them up now, they're worth like $1,000 or more. And they were like $40 at the time when they came out.
Yeah, I was going to say they were definitely very cheap at the time, so that's cool. I think they still make them new, so I mean you can get like a regular swatch, but
well, I meant like
an old one. Yeah.
Yeah, if you find one from the 80s. Okay, I got one last little thing for technology. It's kind of actually like a goodbye instead of a hello to technology. The last hand crank telephone would be used in Bryant Pond, Maine on October 11th, 1983. And it's just something that, like, they had like a girls running a switchboard and everything. And it was something that they were like holding on to. Like, they didn't want to, like, the town was like proud that they still had it going,
We like our dumb, old, inconvenient bullshit.
So, yeah, they finally, I don't know if they, like, made them do it or maybe enough of those people just
probably
died.
The government had to come in and be like, look, this is causing a drag on society at this point. We can't keep living like this. That's crazy, though, to think, like, because it just strikes me as one of those things that's so common in our lives to see people, being afraid of new technology and be like, no, I don't want to do that. I like the old way of doing things. And it's like, you can be like, no, actually, sometimes, I mean, I get that sometimes it is... You're removing a part of human interaction that doesn't need to be removed, or you're taking away some artistry from something, and I get that that's not right to do. But sometimes you're just making things better and easier,
Yeah.
I wonder if people are like, no, it doesn't sound the same. That might like be like, people want vinyl or whatever, and they're like, no, I like the old
crackles. And,
I need the warmth of my mom's voice when I call home. All right, should we jump on to sports?
Yep, let's do it. On January 4th, the United States Football League had its first draft in New York. The rookies going to the professional football team would have really rather play for the NFL. For example, Dan Marino was the first-round draft pick to go to the Los Angeles Express, which is one of the USFL football teams that they had going at the time. But Marino declined the offer, and then he would go on in the next coming months. I don't remember when. I didn't write it down, but he would go on to be drafted to the Miami Dolphins and have a good career. So I think he made the right choice.
Yeah, they were trying to preempt the draft, and basically, I think they were just trying to grab people who were like, "This guy's probably not going to make it in the NFL. Let's offer him something. You'll be the star here. And so they were getting in before the draft happened because these guys were maybe thinking, we might not make it, So fuck, at least we're gonna get paid to play football. I won't be on the bench,
Yeah, that's true. And I won't have to give it up after college. A lot of these guys are getting done with college and stuff.
Oh, 100. But everybody dreams of getting in the NFL, so it was just like sometimes you had to know, man, I might just end up being if I make it, I'll be on the bench for the rest of my life,
Yeah.
So I don't want to die in a clean uniform, So where am I going to get some playing time? I guess I'll play at the USFL. And Dan Marino was one of those guys who was like, no, I think I'm going to hold out and try to test my luck at the NFL level.
Yeah.
So good for him.
I don't know if we did talk about this and we did 1986, but I'll bring it up. That it only lasted until 1986. And right near the end, the USFL was trying to sue the NFL because they were saying that they had a TV monopoly.
Yeah,
over, they had the stations were only running them. They would actually win that case, and who was forefronting it was Donald Trump, and he was because he owned the Jet or the New York, whatever the New York team was at the time for the USFL, but they won.
Oh, for the USFL. Okay.
The USFL won, but they only permitted them to get $1 for their for the winnings.
Oh, damn. That's funny.
And then they ran out of money. Basically, like they couldn't afford to pay the players, so they let all the players go and then dissolved it after that.
A big reason for the USFL starting this year was because in 1982 there was a huge players' strike in the NFL. It was something that was such a severe strike that they actually had to shorten the season to only 9 games. So that's a big, sizable chunk. 7 games off the season. You know? I mean, it's
almost
half. Yeah. So when it came time for the Super Bowl, which would happen in the beginning of 1983, they had to get creative. There was a 16-team Super Bowl tournament that was devised, wherein the division standings were ignored, and 8 teams from each conference were seeded 1 through 8 based on their regular season records. So it was just strictly who did the best. You guys are going against each other based on that, you know. Kind of like more like a tournament, you know, I guess. It seems kind of crazy in football, but it was more like just any sort of basketball tournament or whatever. Everyone just seeded 1 through 8 based on their own records and everything. Division standings aren't coming into play, which always do seem a little arbitrary when you'll see some team that has like won 3 games or some shit, and you're like, oh, he's number 2 in the division because that division fucking sucked this year, you know?
Yeah.
So it made for an interesting Super Bowl, to say the least. So the main game was played between the Dolphins, who had beaten the New England Patriots, the San Diego Chargers, and the New York Jets leading up to getting into the actual Super Bowl, and the Redskins, who had defeated the Lions, the Vikings, and the Dallas Cowboys to get in. So those were all the teams that were involved in this big mishigosh. Cowboys, Vikings, Lions, Patriots, Chargers, Jets. All of those teams got defeated, and it ended up being the Dolphins versus the Redskins in the final match.
And the Redskins would go on to win the Super Bowl.
That's right. Redskins take the whole damn enchilada of a weird year for a Super Bowl.
Yeah. It reminds me of the COVID year for baseball.
Yeah. I mean, there are weird times that they have to do. We've talked a couple times about times that, I mean, usually it's a player's strike that will come in and force a
they
team.
have to, gerrymander stuff. Rig
yeah,
it up.
they have to figure out some creative way of being like, all right, who was the best this year?
Speaking of who are the best this year, let's go through some of the champions, shall we? We already talked about the Super Bowl champions. The World Series champions were the Baltimore Orioles. The NBA champions were the Philadelphia 76ers. I feel like that's the first time we haven't had the Celtics or the Lakers.
Yeah, that's pretty rare.
And then the Stanley Cup champions were the New York Islanders.
Oh, that's the first time we said Islanders, that's for sure.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But man, the Islanders is one that's like, oh, that's a team. Yeah, I don't follow hockey, so sometimes I'll hear a team name and be like, oh, shit. Speaking of the champions, I'm about to tell you about the champions of the Nielsen ratings. I'm getting good at this. All right, the top-rated television programs for the year 1983 are as follows. 60 Minutes started off the year at number 1, and Dallas was number 2. Magnum PI and MASH both share slot number 3. That's for the first half of the year. The second half of the year has a different set of ratings, so the television schedules are broken up like that. So when MASH went off the air and that season of Magnum PI ended, which are both noteworthy, which I'll get to in just a second, Dynasty, which had been number 4, moved up to number 3, and Dallas and 60 Minutes swapped places. So it was a pretty consistent top for this year. Dallas and 60 Minutes are 1 and 2. Dynasty is 4 and 3, essentially. And MASH and Magnum PI, when they're on the air, are pretty damn popular. This season of MASH is the complete series finale. So the whole thing is ending. And the very last episode of MASH still holds the distinction of being the highest rated episode of a television show ever.
Yeah, it was so anticipated, like, that people were going to watch it. They sold 30-second commercial ad spaces for $450,000.
God damn.
That was more than the Super Bowl that year.
Yeah, that would be more than the Super Bowl for many years, I would imagine.
Yeah.
Now it was even the most watched TV program ever up until I think it was 2010. The Super Bowl finally displaced it, but it still is the most watched episode of a TV show.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
To this day. And the Magnum PI, this was a weird season of because it had been on the air for a while, for a few years, and it did well. It'd be in the top 20, the top 10, but not ever up near the top. And then just for some reason, this is the year it took off. And Magnum PI is very iconic, very emblematic of the 1980s. It feels like a huge cultural touchstone from that time period. And this is the year it just became that. It's kind of suddenly and out of nowhere. They just became one of the most popular shows on TV. So good for Tom Selleck. Here are some debuts of some TV shows that would go on to be representative of the 1980s. You have the A-Team. Huge one. Mr. T.
Mm-hmm.
Love it when a plan comes together. That's not him who says that, but he says, I'm afraid of planes. You also have Webster and Mama's Family, both of which I had never seen before, so I watched the pilot episodes of both this week. Have you seen either of those?
No, I haven't.
Webster's the one about the really little kid. That's kind of the whole thing. He's just sort of it's Emmanuel Lewis is the kid who plays him, and he's kind of like got the Gary Coleman thing where he just looks like a child for forever.
Gotcha.
But he's even smaller. He's 3.5 feet tall, so he looks like a 4-year-old, but he's 12 when he did the show. It was weird. He just goes to have to. It's an interesting thing. People really liked football back then, I guess. The dude in the show is a ex-football player, retired football player, whose old teammate passes away, and his son is now left to this guy because he's his godfather. But he didn't think that his friend was ever going to die, so he didn't ever even really know the kid passed when he was born. So now he's got a Webster now that has to live with him, and this guy's a newlywed too, so he's got to deal with that. They're getting together in their first apartment, and then as that's happening, Webster gets dropped off. So, what are you going to do with this precocious little child? So, I don't know, it's funny. I just had never seen it, but it was something that I've always heard of, being a reference to the 80s, so I'm glad I finally checked it out. Other couple things, you got Love Connection. That's a huge game show from the 80s.
Yes.
Chuck Woolery, 2 and 2. I say that all the time, despite never... I've seen Love Connection, but it's not like I watched it. And then this was a big-ass year for kids' shows and for cartoons especially. We've talked about before how in the 70s, there's not really a whole lot of kids' stuff. It's either really little kids programming or it's adults programming. There's not a lot of stuff in the middle, and people were still trying to figure out, does kids programming have to be educational? Is it very sing-along stuff? They didn't really know where to go. And I think in the 80s, they're finally kids like cartoons, they like them being crazy and zany, and we can sell them toys with this stuff. So you have that going on a lot in this year with shows like He-Man and the Masters of the Universe, specifically designed to sell toys, as well as G.I. Joe, a real American hero, also designed to sell toys. Then you got shows like Inspector Gadget, Alvin and the Chipmunks, Dungeons and Dragons, all of which are great cartoons to sell toys.
Yep,
and
just to sell a product or a game.
Yeah, I really like those all a lot. Inspector Gadget, I've been watching a good amount. I just realized they had a Pluto on the Pluto app. There's a channel on there that's just devoted to Inspector Gadget. So I'll put that on when the dogs are left home alone. I almost call them the kids. When the dogs are home alone, I'll put on Inspector Gadget for them. So I've been watching it a decent amount because I'll come back in and it'll be on, and I'm like, how's he gonna get out of this? And live action-ish kind of shows. Reading Rainbow. It's a great show for kids.
Oh yeah, I remember that show.
Also Fraggle Rock, which I love because I love Jim Henson. And Welcome to Pooh Corner is a really weird show that I didn't realize was so old. I always thought it was from the 90s. It's a really, really weird looking kind of, they're like marionette puppets, but they're fluffy. Or maybe they're people in suits. I can't really remember. No, they're like people in suits. That's right, I'm pretty sure. Welcome to Pooh Corner. Is that they're really weird looking people in suits.
Oh, yeah. I remember this show. Creepy.
Yeah, it's really, really trippy looking.
Yeah, I didn't like this show. I remember.
Yeah, it's really creepy. So yeah, if you have not seen Welcome to Pooh Corner, I mean, it lasted for a while too, but it's essentially the 100 Acre Wood. All the gang is there. It's all the stories you know and love, but everybody is played by adults in furry costumes. I guess
Yeah.
is the way to put it. They look really, really off-putting with their strange eyes.
If you're into furry stuff, maybe you're into this show.
Yeah, I'm surprised this
don't
hasn't had a
judge,
big
it's not.
resurgence.
Once they put it on Netflix, maybe it will.
This feels really weird to go into this, my last little bit of TV information here off after that last thing, but on February 5th, the first part of a special 2-part episode of Different Strokes called The Bicycle Man aired. This is a very famous episode in which young Arnold and Willis are the subjects of a pedophilic man and his advances. And it's a very well-known episode. This really kicked off the trend of very special episodes. Tonight on a very special episode, and like the cast would come out beforehand and be like, look, we're about to talk about some fucked up stuff, so get your kids out of the room, And like that was huge in the 80s and 90s, and this was kind of the real genesis of that idea, It had been around before. I mean, the idea of having a heavy episode of a sitcom had been around for forever, but this is what kicked off the trend throughout the 80s and stuff of people being like, did you see how well that rapey episode of Different Strokes did? Let's try that. So there you go. That's
Weird.
it for TV, I guess. People were having too much fun. They were like, look, the world's too peaceful. Everything's okay. The worst thing going on is a players' strike. How are we going to make things fucked up? Let's make Arnold have to deal with something really nasty and bad.
I got one little fun thing before we get off of TV. On July 29th, Friday Night Video debuted. It was basically like if you didn't have cable, you could still
Like an alternative.
If you didn't have cable to watch MTV, you could still watch music videos and stuff. And it lasted for 17 years on NBC before they took it off.
Yeah, it's cool. I mean, that's a long time. And that
so
just
it was
shows how much...
definitely up there with the music vibes, like where as far as like MTV, I'm sure it was up there in the ratings if it lasted for so long.
Yeah, music was so important back then because of the lack of entertainment, that you could turn on TV, but there weren't that many channels. And I mean, I remember being a kid and just being like, there's nothing to watch on TV and turning it off, and we had way more options than they did back then. And so you see a lot of when you go back and you see what people were actually doing back then. They used to sit around listening to a record. They'd put on a record, and you and your friends would sit around and jamming out to whatever song you were trying to show them. But you'd hear all the songs on whatever person you were listening to or what have you. So,
yeah. Well, speaking of sitting around on a beanbag chair listening to music.
Yeah, that's what we've been doing for the last... I was talking about that specifically because that's how Mark and I have been listening to music for the last week, getting ready. Went back in 1983. We found a couple beanbag chairs and a record player. We hopped on down to the local record store with a few dollars, and that's all it took to buy all the top albums of the year. And we're about to tell you about the top 5 songs on the Billboard charts. That's how we do it around here. We say what was happening, what was going on in the day-to-day life of the average American citizen. What were they hearing as they drove to work and as they got off the bus and walked through the supermarket and got themselves a Pepsi. Oh, a Pepsi. Yeah, that was pretty... We'll talk about that in a second. A Pepsi. They were influenced by what they heard. Let's jump into the top 5 at number 5.
All right, number 5 is Beat It by Michael Jackson. Came out on the Thriller album, released on February 21st, 1983. Written and composed by Michael Jackson. And he said, I quote, "I wanted to write a song, the type of song that I would buy if I were to buy a rock song. And I wanted the children to really enjoy it, the school children as well as the college students."
Very important to him to make sure.
I was like interesting.
The first part of the quote, all you needed to say, I wanted to write a song that was the type of song I would buy because I don't really listen to rock and roll. Oh, what a good reason to do it. And I wanted the kids to like it. Oh, why did you say the last part? Not just Not just the college kids, the school kids specifically. Let me hammer down the age group also. Like, damn, dude, you don't have to tell us what audience you want to listen to the song. We get it. You want kids to like it. Fuck, dude.
Oh, man.
You got other info?
It includes a guitar solo by Eddie Van Halen, which I didn't know. That I thought was cool.
I didn't know that either until I looked it up, or until I was looking up information about the song. When I saw that, I was like, damn, that's kind of weird. I didn't know that beforehand. It seems like it should be common knowledge.
Yeah,
like a fun
right?
factoid about it.
Yeah.
It kind of seems like something that maybe everyone but us knows, and it's like, now I'm going to be saying that from now on when I hear this song. I'll be like, hey, you know that's Eddie Van Halen? And people are going to go, yeah. You know that's Michael Jackson. Like, what the fuck? Why are you telling me, dude? Duh.
You're born under a rock? Do you not listen to Wish We Were Then?
Yeah, exactly. That is how it's going to be in a couple of years. We're going to manifest it. This song spent 3 weeks at the top of the charts and has had over 10 million sales worldwide, which makes it one of the most successful songs of all time. Which, you know, this album is considered the most successful album of all time, Thriller. There have been some, you know, disputes to that. It's been maybe knocked off and back on or a couple times, but it kind of still stands at number one, really, when you look at it.
It's been on the top Billboard 200 charts, because that's how they do albums, since it came out in 1983, and it's still on there to this day at 116.
That's so nuts.
Have
you ever owned it?
No, but I looked it up to see where it was on the chart.
That's,
no, I never
you know,
owned that album.
It's hard now because I have a hard time supporting Michael Jackson these days, but I mean, and you know, I don't know for sure if he did anything. I just kind of tend to think he probably did.
Did you not just listen to the quote I just told you?
Yeah, exactly. So, exactly. I mean, I could pretend like I don't think that, but I do think that's probably what happened. Anyway, so it would be hard to do that now. It's kind of an interesting thing, though, to be like, man, this has never left the 200 charts, and you're not a part of that. How interesting. I've owned this album. I used to have it on a cassette when I was a kid, so I think it's funny that, you know, I'm a part of that number, you know?
Yeah.
I feel good as an American citizen. I've done my part helping keep that in the top 200. Now I'm not thrilled about it, but I'm like, at least, you know, yeah, I'm a part of the reason it's there. Never left. You know, for 1 year in the year 1999, I was part of the numbers. The music video for this song is really what helped catapult Michael Jackson into superstardom. It also helped cement music videos as a medium people really cared about. You know, they were popular at this time. They were something that was, you know, yeah, this is going on, but like this is what made people realize it could be an art form, and you needed to do more than just film your band playing a song in, you know, a shitty warehouse or whatever. Because they put a lot of effort into this. Around 80 actual Bloods and Crips were cast to be extras in the video.
Dang.
Bloods and Crips.
They fight
both sides.
afterwards every day?
Well, no, specifically. I mean, Michael Jackson was trying to, you know, he was trying to not just talk the talk. He was trying to be about that shit. Because the music video is about him uniting gang members through the power of song and dance to not be angry with each other, you know? He goes out there and he's just like, stop it, stop being so macho. I'm tired of it. You know, he's just like, you guys got to get along. And everyone listens to him. And they all start dancing at the end. And, well, this Michael guy was right. Yeah, this is pretty fun. And they're all doing little dance moves. Like, why was I so mad at you earlier? But, yeah, in real life, they were actual gang members, real Bloods and Crips that he went and that was what he wanted to do. He wanted to be like, I want to show everyone you really can support people through the power of dance. And he united everybody, I guess.
He was right.
For 1 week on a shoot. I don't know how long they were there, but yeah, I mean, he really did unite gang members with this song in real life. Which, you know, I mean, you could tell on the recording it was it was a well done song, so much so that it won Grammys for Record of the Year and Best Male Rock Performance. So I thought that was interesting. It was, you know, a rock performance. It was considered a rock song. Eddie Van Halen helps cement that.
Yeah.
Michael Jackson's quote of wanting to write a rock song. To me, it's just always been a Michael Jackson song, and I don't really think of him as being any kind of particular genre.
Yeah.
Even pop feels weird. He doesn't really necessarily feel like a pop singer,
He has his
you know?
pop songs, I would think. But I just think he likes music, and he wants to clearly just do whatever he wants to do. Like, I want to write.
He's kind of like David Bowie or something, where it's sort of like you exist sort of without necessarily being in one kind of a genre. You've done a lot of different things over the years. So I was just surprised to see how much this was considered a rock and roll song. It's a part of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame's 500 songs that shaped rock and roll. It's like their official list. So, I mean, it has been considered that. The intro is taken note for note from a demo LP that was released the year before called The Incredible Songs of the Synclavier 2, which is the instrument that is played on, the synclavier. So that's actually just like was a demo showing you what the instrument was capable of, and it played what they just would have then also play to be the intro for the song. I thought that was weird and kind of cheating a little bit to just take that and repurpose it. It reminds me of like the intro to the Gorillaz, Clint Eastwood, if you've ever seen the video, that they just are using the preset on the keyboard. It's basically the same thing,
Yeah.
They just repurposed that and did it again. Oh, and then the other interesting thing I have about this song is that the drums, some of the guitar, obviously not the Eddie Van Halen parts, some synthesizer, and some of the bass are all played by members of the band Toto.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, like 3 of the members of Toto who were popular at the time. They just were like, one of them was working with Michael Jackson on the song already, and so then the rest of the band like became involved also. So yeah, the song contains Eddie Van Halen and Toto.
Yeah, you guys need help? Let's do it. That's cool.
Yeah, so this honestly, it's kind of crazy that the song is not Beat It by Michael Jackson featuring Eddie Van Halen and Toto.
Yeah, that's true, but Michael Jackson holds his own weight.
Damn, to be that fucking much of a superstar that you're just like, I'm not going to put them on there. It's not their song. That's crazy. Number 4 is Down Under by Men at Work. This song came out on November 6th of 1982 in the United States. And this is one of the songs we were talking about earlier that is just a fucking goofball of a song. It's so funny.
I fucking love it.
So
this has
up.
to be my favorite song on
the list.
On this list.
Yeah, this is a good one. It might be my favorite too. This spent 4 non-consecutive weeks at the top of the charts. So America was also just like, you know what? Let's run it back. I love the idea of them being like, remember a couple weeks ago how we were all like singing that Australian song? Let's do that again. It originally came out, they self-released it, Men at Work, in 1980.
1980.
They released it as a B-side to their first local single, so just something that they were doing as a local group. The song was called Key Punch Operator. That was the A-side, so Down Under was the B-side, which I think makes sense because they were just an Australian group to be like, here's the song we give a shit about that we're trying to do, and here's a funny song we wrote about being Australians. So everybody in the bar would like be like, oh, that's funny,
And that's the one that got popular.
Kind of, wink, wink, tongue-in-cheek, I think.
Did you listen to the original version?
Oh, no, I did not.
It's like slower. Actually, I think I liked it more.
No, I got to check that out because I saw that it was a couple of RPMs slower. But did they change anything else?
I think like the intro's different. There's more like instrumentals going into the intro. But as far as everything else, it's pretty much the same. But it's just like the whole feeling is slower and it's like more of a vibe. You're like, this song's actually
it seems
pretty
more
cool.
Australian kind of.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
If it's a lot of the same instrumentation, but like a lot, kind of. I can imagine all the pipe flutes and stuff like that. Sound pretty. It sounds almost jungly, like you're walking through Disneyland.
Yeah, it's fun. It's a cool song. Both versions, I guess.
The newer version of the song was released on November 1st of 1981 in Australia when they got a contract with Columbia Records. So then a whole other year later, after it started doing well in Australia, then it came over to the United States and blew the fuck up here. And we've talked about before how in the 80s there was a fascination in the United States with Australian culture. There was Crocodile Dundee. There were a couple other things, I'm sure, we've talked about, but this was one of them. And so there were, at least 2. Damn, fuck,
Yeah.
what do you want? No, there were a couple of things, though. Yeah, people just thought it was cool. It was very, what's the word I'm looking for? Not tropical. Exotic.
Yeah.
It was very exotic, It was the new thing. Like in the 50s, everyone liked Hawaii, and I think just every so often there's like a new place that people start looking at like, oh, I'd like to go on vacation to Australia, I think was the 80s idea, probably. I think Outback Steakhouse came out in the 80s is probably the other reason we might have talked about it.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. You're right.
One thing I didn't know was that when he says head full of zombie, he's talking about being high on weed.
Oh, makes sense. I figured he'd talk about being high. I didn't think he meant like being dead, walking around like brain dead. I guess that makes sense.
Yeah, I guess I just thought he meant, yeah, like, oh, I'm hungover maybe, or just groggy. I didn't think it meant, like, but zombie. I guess head full of zombie was a way that Australians specifically said smoke weed or be high.
Oh, okay.
And a head full of zombie. Yeah, so not specifically zombie. Like zombie didn't just mean weed, but head full of zombie.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
guess. This is a really interesting tidbit about this song that kind of pissed me off a little bit. In the year 2007, 15 years, 25 years after it was released, on the Australian ABC quiz show Spicks and Specks, which is a funny name, there was a question: what children's song is contained in the song Down Under? And the answer was Kookaburra. The flute portion of the song Down Under is directly lifted from Kookaburra, which I guess they did as like a jokey kind of winky thing because they were making a funny Australia song that was like, we're making a song that's about all the most Australian shit ever. We're talking about Vegemite, all this funny stuff. Like, we're going to include this Australian old children's song in it as just kind of a funny joke or whatever. The rights owners were watching the quiz show, I guess, at the time, saw that this alerted them to the fact that they had never realized that this contained part of their song in it. So they sued Men at Work and were awarded 5% of the royalties for the song moving forward.
Damn. That's a lot of money.
Yeah. They were arguing for a lot more money. They were saying, like, I think it, I didn't write it down, but I think they said the lawyers were arguing if they had come to an agreement before writing the song, it probably would have been something between 20 to 50% of the royalties.
Jeez.
And people, obviously the judge was like, fuck you, that's not how much, we'll give you 5. But that's still a lot for just a fucking flute riff.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So that, and people were pretty annoyed, the Australian public, because it still is seen, it's incredibly beloved in its home country, I guess.
Yeah.
Reportedly.
I love it.
I'm
Like
not
I said,
there.
this is my favorite song on this list.
Yeah, but it's one of those things that you, coming from Australia, I could see you either loving it or thinking like, oh, that goofy ass song that's all about Australia,
With that little kid song in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But no, they like it there. It's still like a national treasure. And so I guess the people of Australia are like, fuck the Kookaburra songwriters, man. What are you doing?
Good. Glad they got the Men at Works back. They're not out there working for no reason,
They're working hard, those men. All right, number 3
is Flashdance. What a Feeling by Irene Cara. Music by Giorgio Moroder. And lyrics by Keith Forsey. The song spent 6 weeks at number 1 on the Billboard charts. It was released on March 19th, 1983. And it was written for this movie Flashdance, which I did not watch. Did you watch that movie before?
No, I mean, I've seen it before. I meant to rewatch it this week. Actually, I think that was what I wanted to watch last night and forgot to, because I've seen it, but I don't really remember it that well. It's been a while.
I've never seen it before. If I have, I don't remember it at all.
It's, it's a little generic. I'm sorry if people love Flashdance, but it's not one of those ones that is got a ton of memorable stuff in it other than the scenes that I know that like her running through the warehouse dancing and then pouring the water on herself and all that kind of shit.
Oh, because everyone makes fun of it.
Yeah, like there's stuff that people have seen and they replicate, but really, like I said, other than that, I don't really remember too much of it. So that the movie's generic enough that the song was written by just showing the songwriters the last scene of the movie, like where she's auditioning to be a part of this Flashdance Academy. They're not Flashdance Academy, but some dance academy that she wants to be in. So they show the songwriters like the very last scene of the movie, and they're like, "There you go, write a song for the movie." So they just kind of like were extrapolating what they thought the movie was going to be about. They had no idea other than that. But Irene Cara had come from the movie Fame, which had come out a few years prior, which is a really big movie. And she was the performer and one, I don't remember what the song was. It might have been Fame specifically. Could have been a different one. I didn't write down the actual song that it was. But she performed on the soundtrack, one of the songs, the song that won an Oscar for Best Original Song from the movie. So she was already an Oscar-winning performer, or had performed an Oscar-winning song. And so she was using that experience being like, well, Fame is about a bunch of kids going to an academy for, the arts. That's probably what this movie's about. So she just kind of wrote it under that assumption, which isn't really necessarily what the movie's about fully, but it worked out. Ended up being enough that there's a lot of like I saw a lot of articles about like parallels between the lyrics and what happens in the movie and stuff like that. So she lucked into getting a bunch of it right, I guess. You know what I mean? Speaking of the Oscars, she was already an Oscar winner, she performed in an Oscar-winning song. Giorgio Moroder had won in 1978 for Midnight Express. So this was like they got together a team of people with a pedigree of putting together Oscar-worthy songs. And this one ended up winning an Oscar and Golden Globe for Best Original Song, which is kind of funny. It's a really poppy song to be back then, I think,
Yeah.
Now you see a lot of pop songs make it, but wouldn't have thought that back in the 80s was a thing.
I had to, when I listened to this song, I was like, I don't recognize it at all.
Really?
Like, this is the only one on this list, I think, that I didn't recognize.
That's funny to me. I think this one's very recognizable to me.
Well, I mean, when I saw it on the list, I didn't recognize it. I couldn't have sang you a lyric of it. But once I listened to it, I was like, okay, I know this song.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know, wasn't a fan.
Yeah, it's very of its time. It has a sort of a feeling to it that's dated.
Yeah,
I would say
sure.
at this point.
Definitely feels like it came out in 1983.
Yeah. Giorgio Moroder, I don't know how hard he was really working on this song. He wasn't that interested in doing it at first. I think he just didn't want to. He denied the request. Then they showed him a rough cut of the movie, and he was like, fine. And he was working on some other stuff. He was kind of just like half-assing it. When it came to the lyrics, he actually just passed the duty along to Keith Forsey, who was the session drummer. It wasn't like he was a lyricist that he was like, oh, I'll have Keith do it or whatever. He was just like, hey, you write the lyrics. The guy who was drumming for him at the time.
Just
and
like
Keith fucking knocked it out of the park.
Yeah, well, he tried. He probably was like, okay, like, cool.
Yeah, he was the one who I've seen articles about the lyrics, and he had never seen the film. And he managed to put together a song that won an Oscar. Like, so he was the only one who took his job seriously, I think. I think Irene Cara also helped with the lyrics, and I'm sure she was of a similar mindset of being like, I gotta nobody put me on after my Oscar winning performance,
Yeah.
And speaking of Irene Cara and not being put on, poor lady, by the end of 1984, she had only been paid about $61,000 for her royalties for this song, which apparently she sued, saying that was not enough. According to her contract, her lawyers were saying she was owed at least $2 million in royalties.
Damn.
At this point. They had paid her, again, $61,000. That was after, at 1983, she had only been paid a couple $100. So, It took a year for them to finally pay her something, and it was a very small fraction of what she claims they owed her. And so she sued for $2 million in compensatory damages, as well as $10 million in punitive damages, saying they were doing it on purpose and just trying to dick her over. So, her first lawyers who handled the case argued that the label network was not a functioning label. Like, that was what the case they were trying to go at, was like arguing that they were a sham of a company or some shit like that, instead of just arguing for fraud in the business dealing, which would have just been going after the money. They were like going after it a weird way. So it was just not making any traction for like a long time. So finally, eventually, she decided to try to get a new lawyer, and she went from person to person. And eventually she found one, but the statute of limitations ran out for suing for fraud. Oh. And so the only way she could sue them was as an accounting matter, to just say the books were mishandled, I'm owed more money than I was paid. So no longer could they do the punitive damages or whatever. And over the course of all of this going on, it's becoming apparent through her trying to get different lawyers and the fact that no one will handle the case the way she wants to, and that she's also not getting any other jobs, that she's being fucked with, basically, according to her. That because she's trying to sue them, the record company and all the higher-ups in the industry and everything else didn't like that she was sticking up for herself, and they, blacklisted her, basically. And so she was no longer able to get more work in the industry, despite having now been a part of 2 Oscar-winning songs and all of that. She didn't hardly make any money and didn't go on to do a bunch more shit like she probably should have at the time. So eventually in 1993, a judge did rule in her favor. She was found to have suffered damage to her career as a result of pursuing these damages and everything, and was awarded $1.5 million for misaccounted funds.
Damn,
at the end of the day. Yeah, that's all she ended up getting. I mean, the judge said she was right, and yeah, your career has been fucked up, but unfortunately at this point, all I can do is award you what was misaccounted. And that's $1.5 million.
That's all that was misaccounted? After 10
I
years?
guess so. Yeah, right. You're like, that seems like it would have been what was initially part of the deal. All right, so after all that, she comes away with $1.5 million, but at least she's been vindicated by the courts. She's getting something out of it. That's enough money to live off of. She didn't get to become a superstar, but it's good money. And after all of that, because she had sued the label and no individuals were named in the lawsuit, the label declared bankruptcy, folded, went under, and she didn't receive any money at all.
Wow.
Because there's no one to pay, no one left to take the suit. The entity she sued is dissolved. There's no more legal ramifications. That buck passes to no one.
Jeez.
So that's the end of the story of Irene Cara's tale of Flashdance. What a feeling.
That sucks.
It's a bad feeling, Irene.
Sorry, Irene.
Yeah, damn. Feel awful. Well, I got something that'll make us feel a lot better. Michael Jackson singing about little kids again.
Number 2.
Number 2 is Billie Jean by Michael Jackson. This came out on January 3rd of 1983 and spent 7 weeks at the top of the charts. It's the second single off of the album Thriller. We've spoken earlier about, I believe, Beat It was, what, the third single? Something like that. There were like 7 singles off of Thriller.
Yeah.
So, but this was
Thriller
number 2.
being one of them.
Yeah. This song, though, is based on stories of groupies and Michael's older brothers when they were the Jackson 5 and they were touring together. He said that this used to happen to them in every city they would go to. Different girls would come up and be like, oh, this is my son. Doesn't he look just like your older brother? Or whatever, you know, to any one of his brothers because they were so successful. So this was somewhat autobiographical, but it apparently is not something that happened to him, you know, sources say. I think by the time he was famous enough, it was probably, he was a little past that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
This is Michael Jackson's best-selling solo single. I found that interesting because it was notated specifically a couple different places this was his best-selling solo single. But when I looked into like his music, I couldn't find specifically what was his best-selling single. I don't know if it's just hard to tell which sold better or if his best-selling single was something with the Jackson 5. Or maybe it's like a duet.
Probably.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it could be a duet with Paul McCartney or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's number 44 on Rolling Stone's 500 Greatest Songs of All Time. It also was featured on the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame's 500 songs that shaped rock and roll. So it's, you know, it's well regarded across the board critically. Another big thing about this song is that we talked before about how Michael Jackson debuted the robot on TV. At the Motown 25 event, people saw the moonwalk for the first time ever on TV. Michael Jackson debuted it for this song.
Crazy. Have you seen that video?
Yeah, it's funny the way people just lose their mind when it starts happening.
He does it really well too. So I mean, it's like
He's so good. Yeah.
it's like yeah. I mean, I think it's crazy still watching it. And I know what the moonwalk is.
Have you ever done it?
I've tried. I've maybe done it once or twice, and I'm like, it has to be like perfect conditions, you know, right shoes, socks, or something like to slide around on.
I took a couple of, every once in a while, I'll just decide to try to figure out how to do some weird shit. And so for a couple of months, I was figuring out how to moonwalk, and I got pretty decent at it, but I can't do it. I don't think I can do it at all anymore, especially now that my back hurts. But yeah, I could do it all right for a little bit. I got okay at it. And when I was like 28, it wasn't like when I was a kid or anything like that. Just at one point, I was like, I'm going to learn how to moonwalk, and just started figuring it out. And I got okay, but couldn't do it like Michael. You're right. He's like so, one of those things when you watch him and you're just like, damn, that creep was so fucking talented. Why did he have to be such a creep, you know? Well, at another time, performing this song would be a pretty famous occurrence for Michael Jackson. I don't think we talked about this in 1984, but in 1984, this song would be repurposed and reworked into the Pepsi Generation theme song. That was their new marketing campaign in the 80s, was like, the soda for the new generation is the Pepsi Generation, whatever. The song, it's so funny. It's almost like a Weird Al level parody of himself. I watched the original commercial of him, and he's like, I'm trying to remember exactly what the cadence of it is, but it's something like, "You are the Pepsi I can't remember the fucking how it goes. But during the shooting of the music video is the famous occurrence of Michael Jackson's hair catching fire. You remember that being a big reference that people used to make?
Yeah. I don't.
Yeah.
I don't know if that happened from the song though, or when the song was being performed.
Hold on a second. I got the video here. Mark and I are gonna watch for a second. You're the best generation because I'm down and taste the freedom today and feel the Pepsi way.
That's so cool.
Yeah, really cool video. Man, you can just see. I don't know how much that we can use or not, so we'll just say the kind of stuff again. But you can see that. I mean, these kids. This song has been out for like less than a year, and it's a bunch of little kids, and they know the dance really well because they must have just fucking loved Michael Jackson. He was the coolest thing in the world,
Yeah, for sure.
They're all wearing the red jacket and stuff like that. I mean, he was the coolest guy to everybody back then. Mm-hmm. And the song is super funny. Like I said, it's like Weird Al level. He changes every lyric. It's not just like a little quick jingle. It's like a verse leading into the chorus, and then it's like, "You're the Pepsi Generation."
He just
guzzle down.
Full on rewrote the song for it. That's awesome. I mean, he just got to show how talented he is. He's like, yeah, all right, that's that exact same song about Pepsi, no problem. Got you.
Yeah, I mean, it looked like so much fun, but apparently during the filming of the video, or they had another video they were going to do, like they were doing 2 videos, and on the second video shoot, his hair caught fire. And it was really bad, actually. I always knew it as like a joke reference that people would make. Like I said, his nose fell off, and his hair catches fire. These sound like awful things. And his hair was, I mean, his scalp was really badly burned.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, that's probably why he wore wigs and crazy hats and shit like that all the time. This poor guy was mutilated,
Yeah. Well, and
gave his body to the craft.
He would get after that, too, for being the most popular person in the world, basically.
Yeah, have to go through, who knows what, reconstructive surgery, who knows?
Yeah. Well, not that he has a problem with that.
Yeah, I guess so.
All right. Moving on to number 1 on the Billboard charts is Every Breath You Take by The Police, off the Every Breath You Take album, released on May 20th, 1983, written by Sting. The single was the biggest American and Canadian hit of 1983. It won 2 Grammys. It was the Song of the Year and the Best Pop Performance by a Duo or Group. This is just like a classic song. I mean, I feel like everybody knows this song. It ended up being 5th for the decade of the 80s. So it was huge. Everywhere. Their biggest song of all time.
The song spent 8 weeks at the top of the charts. And it was Rolling Stone's 1983 winner of their critics and readers poll for Song of the Year. So this was not just prevalent and played a lot of places, but people did enjoy it. Both critics and audiences genuinely enjoyed it and voted for it for Song of the Year. So this is a good representation of actually what people liked at the time. Sometimes we don't know for sure if do people like this? Are they over it? Or how did this make it? But yeah, we know both critics and audiences liked this one. And it's like you said, this was Billboard's 5th bestseller of the 1980s, but also number 25 on Billboard's Hot 100 all-time top songs. So 25th bestseller ever.
There's a lot of those songs on this from this year on the list.
Yeah, a lot of really, really high-selling stuff. Music was so huge at this time. And stuff was fun, but still artistically good. I mean, Michael Jackson is really good at making music, despite whatever else about him. He's good at doing that, This one, though, Sting himself, he did find the music generic, he said. He didn't really think this was like a great song as far as that aspect is concerned, but he thought the words were interesting in his, to quote him, he said the words were interesting.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's okay. This isn't my favorite song from the top. It's definitely not my favorite Police song either. I don't love the Police. Like, they have a couple. I like Roxanne.
I think Roxanne would be the one I would choose to be my number one. But yeah, couldn't tell you. Don't have a Police album. Don't know a bunch of their backlogged things that nobody really listens to. They might have good ones. I don't know. Never really given them the chance time of day.
Okay, that's it for the top 5 songs. But we talk a little bit about the rest of the charts.
We could talk all day about the rest of these charts. There's a lot.
Yeah, there's a lot of good stuff on this list this year. I'll just say at top the debuts of some of the artists. I'm going to run through these quickly because there's a big list of them. The debut of Weird Al Yankovic. He comes up so often on this show. I've realized it's so funny to me that. And it's always something specifically like, oh, this was his last ever album. This was his first ever time on the charts or whatever. And this is his first album.
Person in music.
Yeah, I think so too.
I don't think just for us because we enjoy him. I think for the charts and everything too.
Yeah, I mean he shows up on the charts. He's the only funny guy to actually be like a musician that's notable as anybody else.
Mm-hmm.
Like the rest of the people I list, he's just as famous as them, and he's just a jokester. But also you had the debut albums of Madonna and Cyndi Lauper, as well as Metallica and Slayer, Dio, R.E.M., Tears for Fears, Stevie Ray Vaughan, Wham, The Violent Femmes, Pantera, Social Distortion, Suicidal Tendencies, the Butthole Surfers. There's a lot of really good bands that debuted this year.
Crazy.
Also, the debut of Kiss without makeup on. Lick It Up was the first single they released after coming clean and showing the world, look, we're actually real men. We're not actually demons.
We're not a cat person.
We've been lying to you. I'm not a star child. I never was.
Come On, Feel the Noise by Quiet Riot. The Talking
Do you ever
Heads,
listen to Slade?
I don't think so.
They're from the 70s. They're a good glam rock band, but Come On, Feel the Noise is just a cover of them, and they're one of those covers that they didn't really change anything about it, just the same song.
No,
it's always weird to me that I mean, that's why Quiet Riot had such a huge following. I think they had another one too that they did, and I can't remember off the top of my head. Like, I'm a pretty big fan of Slade, but it's like they're basically the same thing. A teensy bit heavier, but not too much different.
I'm surprised you put I Love L.A. by Randy Newman on this song.
I love L.A.
Yeah. Whenever the Dodgers win a World Series or something, my family always plays that song.
Really? That's funny.
Yeah.
When you look at the top 100, there are so many funny, weird songs in here. When you look at stuff like Pass the Dutchie was in the top 100, as well
it's a great
as
song, Trey. I don't know what.
like She's a Beauty by the Tubes is kind of a funny song. Our House, kind of funny.
Yeah.
Goody Two Shoes is kind of weird. Too Shy is sort of funny. Stray Cat Strut. Mickey by Tony Basil. That's a
Hungry
weird song.
Like a Wolf by Duran Duran. It's kind of a funny song.
The Safety Dance. The Putting on the Ritz, funny dance remix. Mr. Roboto, Der Kommissar. So many of these songs are so weird. Even Come On Eileen's kind of weird. So the top, the most popular songs, everyone was just like, this is fucking funny. Let's listen to that again. What's that? What German song? Put that one on,
That one German.
Oh, here's one I'll point out, just because I looked over it. The one, number 49 on the Spotify list is Far From Over by Frank Stallone. When I was looking over the list of the Billboard Hot 100 for the end of the year, and I was like, Frank Stallone's on the Hot 100? He's Sylvester Stallone's brother.
Oh.
And I was like, what the fuck? That's crazy. I remember we talked about him briefly when we were talking about the movie Rocky. In the beginning of it, there's the part where the guys are singing around the trash can. And I was like, man, that guy's singing is really good, actually. Are they a real group, or who is this singing around the trash can group of fellows? And I found out it was Frank Stallone singing the song. I'm like, damn, Sly's brother can really sing. Well, here you go. He sung well enough that he got a song from the soundtrack to the Staying Alive or Saturday Night Fever, whatever the second one is, the sequel movie. Came out this year. That song was from the soundtrack, ended up on the Hot 100. So good for him. Didn't realize he could do it like that.
If you listen to the song, it literally sounds like it came out of the 80s. Like you could see it in like a Rocky movie or like a, Flashdance.
Alrighty. Well, I think that's it for the old music charts, eh?
Let's put that record player away.
Yeah, let me put it away. Shatter. Whoops. I'll have to go back to when I didn't drop that. Or I'll just save the record player next time. I don't know. We'll figure it out. All right. Well, let's turn our attention away, shall we? Last order of business in the year 1983 is to travel on down to the local multiplex and see what the gentry are gathered in wait of. You, sir, what are you in line to see?
Oh, me? I'm going to go see Star Wars, Return of the Jedi.
Oh, that... Let me ask another person and see if it's the most popular movie of the year. Yes, it was. I'll tell you. That was an audio clip from our Journey to the Past. And let me tell you, I asked everybody in line. Turns out everybody was seeing Star Wars Episode 6, Return of the Jedi. That's right. The exciting conclusion to the Star Wars franchise as we think it. I don't know.
For now.
If that's the case, yeah, we'll see. This movie was premiered on May 25th of 1983. Directed by Richard Marquand. Written by Lawrence Kasdan and George Lucas. Starring Mark Hamill, Harrison Ford, Carrie Fisher, and Billy D. Williams. I'll give him last billing. It's like there's so many characters to choose from as to who to say last. Anthony Daniels. We'll toss him in there too. You know, it's like which other funny character has the side one? Mostly starring those first couple people. And I mean, this is last thing. The budget on this one was $32.5 million and grossed $316,566,101 in the U.S. and Canada. So this was the number one movie of the year. Everyone was excited to see the Return of the Jedi. How do you feel about this one?
I think it's one of the more liked Star Wars that I've watched, but I don't know. There's something about Star Wars that has... When I try to put myself back in 1983 when I'm watching this, but it's hard with all of the things that they've changed over the years. Because, like, I don't even know the one that I'm watching would be the one that people would watch in 1983. So Trey and I went back and we watched one in archives.org, which is a website you can go back through and you can see all the different like social media, magazines, books, movies, TV shows. And we watched the despecialized version of it. And I kind of watching it, I don't think that it was much different than the one that we watched on like Disney per se.
Yeah, this is one that they haven't done an exceptionally large amount of stuff to. Not a bunch of changes necessarily. Some additions that are pretty stupid. But there aren't a ton of things that they did to change anything or that like, you know, you can be that upset about. The earlier ones, there are just some stuff that is more glaring. And I guess that's the other thing too, is that like if you're watching the trilogy for the first time in the special editions, you're going to see A New Hope first, and then you see like, oh, what the fuck? Why did they add that stupid thing walking by in the beginning? Everyone complains about that. Mm-hmm. And in this one, I mean, actually, now that I'm saying all this, I don't know why this one gets such a pass, because the most egregious thing that happens in this one is the addition of this terrible jazz rock number in Jabba the Hutt's palace.
Oh yeah, where they're all dancing.
Yeah, and it's all chicken It's so bad. As a kid, I remember being, this is so jarring. When I was really little, we had the original VHS tapes. So like I grew up watching both versions of it because I remember when we got the gold boxed special edition VHSs when they came out. That's when they started being altered. Yeah. Like before that, you got the normal version of it. So we still had the normal case. I remember each individual one, how they looked and everything, and then we had the gold one. So it's like I kind of feel like I'd watch because I preferred the artwork on the original case. I don't think as a kid I could really pick up necessarily that there were differences between them, you know? But I would watch that one more because it had a cooler case. So I kind of am more familiar with the original version, I think. But then the one on Disney Plus has even like a third round of alterations that I like, the Hayden Christensen being added as a ghost at the end.
Yeah.
That's something that they've added in now, obviously, because in 1997, when the VHS tapes came out as the special editions, obviously the Hayden Christensen, he would have been like 5 or something. I don't know how old he was, but he was not Anakin yet. So he's obviously not a part of that. But anyway, yeah, this one's really, it's got a couple of annoying pieces of them trying to, like the Sarlacc pit, that's another thing that they added some CGI to make it scarier instead of just being a hole in the ground, which I think that's one thing that it doesn't look super menacing, just being kind of a pit that they fall into. But it's the implication. It's like, it's got to, whatever's in there's got to suck.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah, you don't have to see the monster for it to be scary.
It's actually kind of worse to just think, oh, you fall into that hole. That already is not pleasant. And then something really bad happens when you're in there. That it's up to you to fill in the blanks, you know?
Yeah. Well, I think my favorite part about this movie was the fight scene between Vader and...
Yeah, that is definitely the best part. Because I was thinking about it, rewatching it. This one's never been my favorite of the Star Wars movies. It's my least favorite of the original trilogy. But I know it's a lot of people's favorite one. People enjoy Luke coming back in the all-black outfit, being all Jedi Knight status now, and the Jabba's palace scene is pretty cool. I mean, there's some cool stuff that happens, but it's kind of dumb, you know? Like, it's sort of annoying. There's a lot of, like, annoying characters laughing and crying and stuff like that. Like, Luke in the beginning when he's standing on the trap door and C-3PO's like, Master Luke, underneath you, look out. And then Luke just stands there for like 45 seconds just being like, all right, Jabba, are we going to do this shit or not? Like, and it's like, I guess maybe it was part of his plan to be captured and do this other stuff. It's like, this is a dumb plan. You could have done all this from here. You know what I mean? Like, if your plan was to kill everybody, but it was going to be over there, why did you have to endanger everyone's lives? It's not a good plan. It's not a real plan.
Well, I don't think that was. I think the plan was initially to trade the droids.
I don't know.
I think that was plan B.
But it's just like, dude, you didn't have to fall in that hole. It had to have been something where it's like, yeah, I meant to go in there because he told you so long before it happened. And also, it's like, what do you never watched a cartoon before? You can't tell the circle on the ground that's a different color than everything else around it is something different's about to happen. Come on, man, that door's about to open. Come on, bro.
It's a long time ago, Trey. They didn't have cartoons yet.
This one's got a lot of, like I said, the Jabba's Hutt stuff is kind of like throwing in a bunch of fun alien stuff for the sake of doing it a little bit. So it's fun, but it's kind of dumb. And then the Ewok stuff, like that's the same. It's like there's a lot of fun stuff that happens, but it's very much for little kids. They make a lot of hay out of this whole Ewok situation. Like this could have been a 30-minute segment of the movie. Instead, it's where most of the movie takes place.
Yeah, that's what I felt. I feel like watching it again that I thought more happened in this movie.
Right. Yeah, me too.
But it was just kind of.
It feels like an episode of the Star Wars TV show.
Yes, that's exactly what it felt like, and that's what I was trying to separate myself from, because this is exactly what happens in every Star Wars now. They have a mission, they go and do it, somebody gets captured, and then they have to go and save them, and something happens, and there's another mission. You know what I mean? Like, I get it, it's a war, but still, like, this is it. This is it. This is what Star Wars
it's just
is
a
now.
weird, right? It's a weird
this.
thing to. It's hard to take it. Like the first one, you have to introduce this crazy idea of like there's a space opera going on. So like this guy and this guy, this is their relation, and it's going to go this place, and just hold on to your hats. So the first one's crazy and introduces so much stuff. The second one is like really laying a lot of groundwork for like emotional stakes of developing further of relationships and showing more of the world and kind of going, okay, now this is it's not just this little story we showed you at the beginning. It's bigger than all of that. And then the third one, they just go, okay, and then now they have to disable the shield, and then they got to kill him. And that's it. That's where it ends. It's like you spend a whole movie watching them try to turn off one shield, which really doesn't seem like enough of a thing. But, yeah, no, when it comes down to it, that's what they've made most Star Wars things to be about. And conversely, the or not the prequel ones, the sequel ones that have come out with the rise of Skywalker and stuff, like they end those by being like, okay, and then they have to travel to another dimension and beat a whole fleet of zombie ships or some bullshit. You're like, what the fuck? What does this have to do with Star Wars? So I guess really they lost the plot of being like, and then they have to deactivate a shield and blow up one thing. That's what this all needs to be over and over again, I guess.
Yeah. I think that it was weird. Okay, now they do the exact same thing that they did the first time.
Yeah.
I read one of the synopsis and it was like, they have to blow up this Death Star again. It's like, okay, well, or they blow up the second Death Star. That's what it said. So it's like, so this was already the plot from the beginning, that they were just going to do the same thing that they did the first time.
Yeah.
But now you're seeing it only once.
Yes. We'll just read that whole thing. After rescuing Han Solo from Jabba the Hutt, the Rebel Alliance attempts to destroy the second Death Star while Luke struggles to help Darth Vader from the dark side. And yeah, it just comes across as being one of those things where you're like, oh, you're doing the sequel. We just got, there's another one. Like, and this one's even worse. Trust us. Like, we got to get in there and stop this one. So there's no introduction of some new, kind of even this movie, you're not even thinking about the Death Star. You know? It's not like this big, terrifying thing that you're being, oh, what the fuck is that thing? They got to destroy that. This one, you're just like, oh, yeah, there's another one, and whatever. There's some shield, I guess. It kind of feels like a plot point from another movie. It feels like all of this stuff should happen in the second one or something.
Yeah.
So I kind of, when I was watching it, I was thinking during it, I always have a hard time separating out the third one and what happens in it. Because I guess I kind of feel like those things happen in the other movies. You know?
I feel like everything that happens in this movie has happened at some point again in a different Star Wars.
Yeah, I guess it's sort of the whole thing about Star Wars in general, though, when I'm thinking about it. It kind of feels like Yoda's in the first one when he's not. You know, he doesn't show up until the second one. So that feels weird when you watch the first one. You're like, oh, yeah, Yoda's not in this one. And then in the second one, you're like, oh, yeah, this isn't the one with the Jabba the Hutt or the Ewoks stuff. And you get to the third one, and it's like, oh, that's what's in it, I guess, is Jabba the Hutt and the Ewoks. But it's just that it feels like two parts of two short things in a bigger story that they just make out to be the whole story.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's a good way of putting it.
Yeah, I don't know. It's not my favorite of the Star Wars, but that being said, it looks really cool. It still is Star Wars fun. I think it's, though, the start of you seeing people go like, oh, we can put a lot of money and effort into making this, but it doesn't necessarily need to be like breaking any ground or be that good, and people will go see it, you know?
What I gotta say, what I do like about it is the way they write off Darth Vader. It's like satisfying, especially after watching all of the ones that we can watch nowadays. It's like, okay, his story is finally ending. It feels like it's taking longer.
Yeah,
You know?
I get you. That he doesn't come back or whatever. It's like, oh, we get to close the book on Darth Vader and finally actually have it be an ending.
Yeah, and then it's like, surprised they didn't bring him back too, along with Palpatine.
Yeah, exactly.
In the new ones, you know?
Yeah. It's a pretty funny reveal, though. He takes off the helmet. You always expect him to be like, you're white?
Yeah. Like, it makes sense, I guess, but you don't think about it like that.
And then when he starts talking to, and he's like, oh, hello, Luke. And you're like, I get that maybe the helmet made your voice deeper, but it changed your accent, too. You're like British now, and a second ago you didn't sound that way.
Well, I think
it's a
he
little weird.
kind of has an accent. Return to the dark side.
I don't know. It just sounds like he's trying to be evil. I don't know. I never thought of James Earl Jones as trying to sound British.
He does have a couple of, because I thought that watching this, like, he does have a couple of little hints of an accent. I wouldn't say he sounds.
That's funny. I gotta
but
listen to hear for that.
But at the same time, Hayden Christensen doesn't have an English accent.
Right. That's so funny. I was gonna be like, yeah, not everybody has the same accent as their parents. It's like, yeah, I guess he was raised in a different part of space.
Yeah.
I mean, where is he from? Naboo? I suppose nobody on Naboo has accents, but also they're not like Nebunese people.
Wait,
They're
weren't they
slaves
raised
from
on the
wherever
same
they
planet?
from? No, because he's from Naboo and Luke is from Tatooine. They just have similar lineage. So maybe the people of Tatooine don't have
They just
accents.
both happen to be desert planets.
Yeah, exactly. So that's why he was able to survive there. There's similar conditions to what he would have in his natural habitat. Wouldn't that be funny? Fast. That should be a part of like Star Wars that they never talk about, where it'll just be like, well, we got to go to Hoth, otherwise we won't be able to save Princess Leia. And they're like, I can't go to Hoth, kid. That's an ice planet. My genetic makeup, I'll die there instantly. I'm a hot-blooded or whatever. I'm cold-blooded. Oh, that's right. You'll freeze there. We need to get a special suit. It's just like wherever planet you're from. That's
That
the only
sounds
bearing it
way
has.
more realistic than being able to go to any
it would
planet
be.
you want.
Yeah, like everybody's like, yeah, okay, everybody speaks the same fucking language, sure. Nobody needs oxygen masks or anything else like that. None of that, but it's just like, at least make it be, yeah, your like temperature or something, you know?
Yeah.
All right, well, we done with Star Wars?
Yeah, what are you gonna rate it? What's our ranking system today?
Out of 1,983 dead dads, what do you give Star Wars Episode 6?
I'm gonna say like a 1,295.
I was just gonna say 1,200. I was
Dead
about to
dads.
come out of my mouth. I was gonna say I don't like the idea of us influencing each other's votes. I just feel like, well, we apparently always have the similar opinions, because it's not too often that one of us would be like, oh, I was gonna be an 1,800. I can't believe you were only 12.
Yeah.
But as we do really have similar opinions, because I was thinking, yeah, I'm probably going to go about 1,200 on this one. So 1,200 dead dads for me. What did you say, 1,250?
1,295.
1,295 from you. Okay. Pretty similar scores.
One thing I did want to say that I do appreciate about these movies is all like the art that goes into them, when the dudes have to paint all of the soldiers and all of the backgrounds and all of the ships, and I think that stuff's really cool about this era of movies.
Yeah, it's nice that they put that much effort into making it. I mean, people do that stuff on computers, so I know that doesn't just come from nowhere. I don't mean to not give people credit for doing it nowadays. It just is a different thing,
Yeah.
I gotta be one of those people who wants to hold on to the old rotary phone connection thing, like, don't change things. It just makes it easier. This guy's not having to be slunched over a backdrop for hours painting it. Sometimes the camera zooms by, but I like it. Okie dokie. Some other movies that came out this year. I wanted to mention up top, I watched this a couple nights ago, is a movie I've always meant to watch, and I always assumed was just a ripoff of Star Wars, is Krull. Have you ever heard of it? Krull.
Yeah, I've heard of it. I've never watched it, though.
Yeah, it's like a space movie from the 80s, so I just thought it's probably a Star Wars ripoff kind of a deal. And I mean, it draws inspiration from some of that stuff. But it's way more swords and sandals, kings and castles kind of a thing than I expected from a space movie at all. But the thing that really shocked me while I was watching it was I didn't know that Spaceballs is a mixture of Krull and Star Wars. Basically, anything from Spaceballs that's like part of the story that you don't recognize as being from Star Wars comes from Krull.
Huh.
She looks... the characters look exactly like the characters from Krull. Like, the look of her... She's getting married in the beginning. It's the marriage of two kingdoms that are, it's a marriage of political whatevers, and the heir is being stolen, and all that shit is all directly from Krull. So I always thought that was like the original part of Spaceballs, and I always wondered, why is it so like fantasy swordsy thing? I just thought he didn't know what else to parody about how to make his own space movie or whatever, how to come up with his own aspects. But no, he was just doing another space movie that was popular.
I'm gonna have to watch this movie now.
Yeah, it was really... I kept going, oh, fuck, that's what that's from. And like, man, she looks just like her, too. Yeah, it was a trip. A couple of the big movies, though, for the year. Biggest, I would say. One of the ones that, if Star Wars hadn't come out, I think we might have been talking about one of these couple. First and foremost, though, when you think of this year, you probably think of Scarface.
Yeah.
What do you think of Scarface?
I haven't seen it in a really long time, but it's a classic. I mean, I might have different opinions about it now, but I like that movie.
Yeah, at the time, I mean, I've seen it once. I remember I went to go see it with a couple of friends, and like we were just bored to fucking tears during it. And halfway through, we went out to the parking lot and smoked a bowl, and they were like, can we just go? Let's just ditch. And I was like, no, we have to. We saw it in theaters. And I was like, no, it's Scarface. None of us have seen this. We have to watch Scarface. Like, let's go back in there, please. I want to watch this. And so we went back in there like, this fucking sucks. It's like, I know it sucks. We have to do it. Like, it's part of life. You have to watch Scarface. And then afterwards, I was like, all right, I don't really have to do that again. But I just thought it was so boring. And his accent is so atrocious. It's just, I got to rewatch it because it's like, I got to be wrong. There's no way it's that beloved and I think it's that bad. But I just thought it was terrible. You also got Flashdance, we've mentioned earlier. That's a huge one for this year. Big dancing thing that people parodied for years, the whole her pulling water on herself. Mm-hmm. Another dance move people parodied for movies this year is Risky Business, where he slides in his underwear.
Oh, yeah.
Dun, 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 dun. You used to see that all the time back in the day.
Yep.
Parodies of people with a dress shirt and sunglasses.
National Lampoon's Vacation. That has to be one of the more popular ones this year.
Definitely. Now, I did want to point out a couple of weird things that happened in multiples of each other. There are a couple things that in the movies that were released this year where you see trends, I guess, little weird miniature trends, such as you have National Lampoon's Vacation, as well as this year, National Lampoon's Movie Madness. National Lampoon had 2 movies released this year. You also had Still Smoking by Cheech and Chong. But they also both appeared in the movie Yellowbeard as well, which had the hands of some of the Monty Python guys. They were like the writers of it, a couple of the Monty Python guys, who also did Monty Python's The Meaning of Life this year came out. That's a great one.
That's a great
Meaning
one.
of Life. So yeah, a lot of these weird little, a couple of things in a row that were similar to each other, like Valley Girl and Losing It were both kind of teen sex romps of the time. I watched Valley Girl for the first time. That starred Nicolas Cage in an early role. Losing It is an early Tom Cruise role that came out before Risky Business this year, I think. So Risky Business made him a huge star, but Losing It came out first, and it's more of a, just old school teen sex romp. He wants to lose his virginity. I have not seen that one, but Valley Girl was pretty funny with Nick Cage. That whole, oh my God, like this and that type of like thing, like that type of girl I didn't realize it was as old as 1983. I knew it was an 80s thing, but to think that was around, it just sort of seems like they popped up out of nowhere when you think a few years earlier than this, it was the late 70s. And now the girl's like, oh my God, let's go to the mall. It just seems weird, kind of out of nowhere. Outside of all of those types of comedy movies, some more types of trends you would see. 2 James Bond movies came out this year, which is weird. Octopussy and Never Say Never Again. Octopussy has the distinction of being the funniest named James Bond movie.
That's wild that they even
It's
called
crazy
it
that they got away with putting a movie named Octopussy into theaters is crazy. And then Never Say Never Again it's a weird story behind that one, that it's not technically a part of the main James Bond continuity. It's sort of like it was that one particular James Bond story was able to be licensed by someone else other than the main people who had rights to every James Bond story or whatever. So I think that one actually came out as Moonraker and Never Say Never Again. So in their main continuity, it's Moonraker. But Sean Connery did come back. He had stopped starring as James Bond years prior. And when he stopped playing James Bond, reporters asked him, would you ever come back and play James Bond again? And he said, never. And so when he did decide to come back and do this weird offshoot movie, they were trying to come up with a name for it because they couldn't call it Moonraker. And his wife said, well, remember how you said you'd never play James Bond again? And he said yes. And she said, you should call the movie Never Say Never Again. And so she came up with the name, which it sounds like a really good James Bond name.
That is a really good James Bond name.
Yeah, but it was Mrs. Connery, the woman who used to get slapped on the regular. There were a couple of sequels. That was a big thing this year. You had Porky's 2. Mm-hmm. I didn't realize there was a sequel to Porky's. I don't know what... It's funny. It's called Porky's 2, The Next Day, which is hilarious to just be like calling it out in the movie name. Like, we're going to tell you what happened after what happened to the first one. There was also Psycho 2, speaking of movies that don't need a sequel. And then Staying Alive, I mentioned earlier, is the sequel to Saturday Night Fever. He also dances again. Who knows? That movie had some other parts I don't want to see a sequel to.
Dancing the Next Day.
And then you also had a lot of third installments in franchises. You had the third Star Wars that came out, the 6th in the story, I guess, but the third movie in release chronologically. But you also had Superman 3, which I watched for the first time the other day. I watched the first 2 for this show, so might as well watch the third one. It's fucking dumb as hell. It's so funny. I was watching it like, why? Why did you make this movie? It's so goofy. Richard Pryor is in it, and the whole time we're just like, why is he here? Why did you do this? It's dumb. It's so funny. It's one of those movies that's like, it's so bad and dumb that I kind of want to like it, but I'm just like, this is just dumb. I can't bring myself to fully enjoy it. So I kind of just had it on in the background at a certain point. I kind of gave up on trying to enjoy it. You also have Amityville 3D, because 3D movies were big at the time. And also on the horror 3D front, yeah, Jaws 3D, which I got a Jaws shirt on because I had to have something from the thing. And I watched Jaws 3D the other day. It's so boring, man. Just like takes so long to. It takes place in SeaWorld, and a shark swims into SeaWorld, and it's terrorizing SeaWorld. And somehow they're like, we gotta fucking figure out how to make a movie. They can't find the shark. Like inside, what's happening? It's so bad.
Why can't you? All the tanks are just next to each other and just jumping from tank to tank.
It's really lame. And it's really, they don't even, I mean, you're at least like, okay, at least he has a ton of people really close by he can eat constantly, right? Nah, barely kills anybody the whole movie. It stars Dennis Quaid as a grown-up version of one of the kids, though.
Oh, that's kind of cool.
Yeah, a little interesting. Also, Smokey and the Bandit Part 3. I don't think I mentioned that. The couple of cool horror movies, but in the horror movies, there's also a trend of Stephen King movies coming out. This year, you had Cujo, as well as The Dead Zone and Christine. So 3 different movies based on Stephen King books. That's crazy.
That is crazy.
A good year for him. You know?
Christine is definitely his most popular of those, right?
Cujo, I remember being the biggest one as a kid.
Well,
that
they
was
even
talked
made
about.
like a sequel to Christine.
Yeah, but Cujo, I just remember being a thing, a reference all the time. Maybe it was my dad more than anything, just reference. Like anytime he saw a bad dog, he'd be like, all right, Cujo, you know. My dad read Stephen King, though, so maybe that's also why.
Yeah.
I watched Cujo not too long ago for the first time. And, man, it's actually pretty good that, because I kind of thought, how do you make a movie interesting about a dog hunting this family in a car? That's basically the whole premise of it, right? And they started off, and the dog gets bit right away, and then the family starts fucking running for their life right away. And I was like, damn, I was engrossed the entire time. It was just like they really did a good job of somehow making that the entire premise and doing a good job of it.
That's cool.
And worth a watch if you like horror movies. Additionally, you have a couple of weird ones. The 80s is such a good time for weird, gross, crazy horror movies. And you have Pieces, which I like, and Extra, which is really weird. The end of it's got one of the crazier things you'll see in a movie, I will say, especially from the 80s. You probably, I don't know, you might make it now. It wouldn't have seen it for a number of years. Nowadays, I could see it happening in a movie, but it would have, not for a long time, they wouldn't have done that. And then the one that I've always wanted to see, and it's a big reference in our friendship group, and I've always wanted to see this, is Videodrome.
Oh yeah, I've seen that movie. Holy shit!
I know you
forgot
guys
about that movie.
always used to say I'm dromed out, man, and I can't. I never got to play along because you guys were like, it's so weird. I love David Cronenberg. Yeah, I mean Cronenberg did The Fly, which is kind of one of his more normal movies, but that's like his more famous one. But I love like Naked Lunch and stuff. Like I love his weird stuff, and I know that's one of his weirder ones, and I've always wanted to see it. It's just never is playing anywhere, and I've never wanted to see it enough to pay $4. You know,
one movie that was like a kind of like a horror-esque movie that I wanted to see, I didn't get to, was Something Wicked This Way Comes. It's like about a
I saw the name,
demonic,
but
like
yeah, I don't.
horror like circus that comes into town.
Sounds cool.
It looked pretty cool. Doesn't have the best ratings, but I still wanted to watch it.
a lot. Like I'm sure Pieces has a terrible rating. You had The House on Sorority Row and Sleepaway Camp. And Sleepaway Camp is one of my favorite 80s horror movies. It's so good. It's so bad and like not scary and cheesy and dumb. It's so funny. And then the end of it is so wild. It's got the best last shocker from an 80s film. It doesn't play that great now, necessarily, politically correctly speaking. Yeah, it's not necessarily I wonder how people hold that one. I guess it says something about that person's experience. So, I don't know.
I'll have to watch
Look into it yourself. Do your own research, people. Don't just let the internet tell you what to think. Or that guy, he likes Sleepaway Camp. He's a fucking terrible person. You decide if I'm a terrible person for liking this movie. And then finally, let's end off on a couple of Christmas movies. A Christmas Story came out this year, an all-time classic, as well as Trading Places, another classic for me at Christmas time.
Yeah.
I didn't know that Trading Places was originally written for Richard Pryor and Gene Wilder.
That's what I heard when I was doing some research. I didn't know that either.
That'd be a cool movie. Always anything that would have them in it, I'd like to have seen, you know?
Yeah.
Again, it's sort of like the same thing as when we talked about Blazing Saddles, where I'm like, I'm happy with Cleavon Little, though. Trading Places is, it's pretty classic the way it is.
Yeah.
Oh, last movie I'll say something about here is Fire and Ice. It's a really weird, cool movie. It's a Ralph Bakshi movie. I've mentioned him before, and I always just point out his movies when he comes on. But it's an animated movie that's sort of about wizards and sorcerers and warriors and stuff like that. A lot of rotoscoping in it, where they have live actors doing stuff, choreography, and then they draw over it.
Oh, that's cool.
That's how he made like the Lord of the Rings movie that he did back in the 70s.
Yeah.
And this one's really cool. It's a really neat movie. You don't have a bunch of adult themed fantasy animated movies that have ever come out in major release. So it's one that I think more people should check out because it's worth a watch. It's not amazing, but it's cool. I like it.
Cool.
Okie dokie. It's been an amazing trip to a year that really just gave us a whole bunch of stuff to list off because it had a bunch of funny-ass, weird things that came out,
A lot of stuff that did happen this year, and we could probably sit here and talk about it for longer, but...
Alrighty, but the last order of business in 1983 is to figure out what's our favorite thing that happened, favorite piece of pop culture, song, news article, whatever. We take that back with us to the present day, and everything else, well, it goes the way of the dinosaurs. Vanishes. Becomes a myth. Becomes something made up by the government.
Because of conspiracy theory. Mandela effect. The wish we were then effect.
That's what's been happening.
My number one thing was Thriller this year.
Oh, really? You're saving Michael Jackson's work, are you?
Music video.
Okay. It's a really good... the whole album is a really great album. I wonder what would happen if it wasn't the number one selling album. Because it would have messed up the charts for the next 40 years.
Yeah.
If it didn't exist, Because it's always been there. So there would have been a different album on there every single year. Man, that's crazy to think that every year there's somebody who was just at number 201 was like, if Michael Jackson hadn't come out with Thriller 35 years ago, I would have had a top 200 album this year. Damn it.
Now, the music video is what I wanted to say, though. I love that music video.
It is a good music video. I'm going to save the video game Dragon's Lair. I haven't played it since high school. I remember being really impressive and cool. I talked it up a whole bunch, so let's get out there and all work on this. I don't think we've saved any video games.
I
until
saved
now.
The Simpsons, I think, or...
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So you have one to go and play mindlessly, and then another one that if you don't want that, you have to get really good at this other one, Okay, 1983, you've been a real gem, and we're going to miss the hell out of you.
I know what I'll be thinking.
I'm pretty sure I'll think the same thing. Shall we?
That we wish we were there.
Wish we were then.